Hi guys, it's Ray. This video is a piece of faux stained glass that I wanted to make for my studio. Um, the components I used were simply a Dollar Tree frame, which I paint with C paints. I used the glass, a template that I drew out using my Cricut, and I used clear Elmer's glue and alcohol inks for all of the color part. I used puff paint for the leaded glass part. This video is a little rough and out of order to begin with, simply because if it could go wrong with this project, it did go wrong. So bear with it. The end result was worth it in my opinion, and I will be coming back in and doing another version of this at some point, probably using epoxy and alcohol inks. So thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys, and if you would like and subscribe, I would love that. So while I'm waiting over there, I have my project laid out on Cricut Design Space, and I have my machine drawing it because I'm going to use this as my template. Okay, so this is my image done. I'm just going to set the glass over it for just a second because I want to kind of center up the image and then finish the image. So I want to get it the way I want it going, and I think that'll be good. So I'm just going to mark the top and the sides real quick. And I do have a board under this, just because when I get the glass going, I don't actually need it right now, but I'm going to work on top of this just so I can move it. So I'm going to grab my paper trimmer and cut this down true to size. So if I do it as is, it leaves a lot of negative space around it, and I don't want that. But I don't want, I thought about doing it like mission style, traditional stained glass, but I think because it's turtle and it's a fun image, I'm just going to draw in some like wave shapes. Just hand draw them, it doesn't have to be perfect. Sorry, I keep bumping you. I'm wearing a hat today. I'm not used to working over the camera with a hat on, clearly. I'm going to come back and do off the other side. I'm just eyeballing them. And I think I'm going to just go ahead and do some straight color blocking, just to break it up even further. So those I'll probably do by like halves. line up way up there. This one I guess I'll have a little tiny piece in here. And here and here. So it'll give me about here. One kind of in the center and one more here. So that'll be my overall image. And I'm going to put this on here. I'm going to overlay the glass onto my image. Get it lined up somewhat. And I'm going to start at this corner so I'm not dragging my hand across. I'm going to open this. Okay, so I am on like take 752 of this part of this process. And I don't know what I still have recorded and what I don't. So this was a Dollar Tree frame. I scuffed up the frame because I'm going to paint it using Ocean Tide from Sea Paints. So that's why that looks a little dinged up. This was just a Dollar Tree frame. This is just a project for me. I drew this out on the Cricut, which is probably what you saw in the first clip. So there's that. And I did mark off the colors I'm going to use just as a kind of a map. Not for this part though. That I'm just going to kind of wing when I get there. This is the 8x10. This is actually bigger than 8x10, I think. At any rate, this is the glass out of the frame. Because I think this one was matted. So the mat had maybe a bigger, yeah, see, it's like 9 1/4 by a little more than 11, but that's fine. So I mixed up my own paint to trace this with, and I just was never happy with the consistency. It spread too much on here, so it was going to be too hard to fill in. So I scrapped all of that. I'm just trying to get this lined up neatly. And instead, I am just going to use your regular old puffy paint and try that for this go round. So I'm going to start in this corner and work my way this way so I'm not dragging my hand through it. And I'm just going to go ahead and get started and see what happens. Try not to slide it around too much. And for these lines, I'm okay with them being a little thicker. When I get to the thinner lines on the turtle, I might not want them so thick. But I will take it when I get there. So, just going to try and keep a consistent pressure on the bottle. See, this is where the lines are going to be a little bit tighter. So I might not want as much. Because I do want to try and keep that separation. So I might have to bring that in just a little bit. This is where I gotta watch my hand placement. I'm going to have to get in these lines with a fairly skinny brush. But by having the chart drawn out underneath, I don't have to like freehand anything here. And I may change up some of the colors that I marked because I do have some different inks now, so I may not necessarily go exactly with what I've labeled already. And I do have some paper towels handy just in case I end up smearing this all over. And that might have to just be black. For this center, because it is very small to work with. So I guess the next part is the flower itself. And I do want to try and get some of these details. And this paint's going to take at least 4 hours to dry, possibly longer. So it's a little chilly today, so I probably won't get to the next step tonight. But I really do want to get this done because I started this weeks ago. But being that this is a project for myself, it kind of gets backburnered. And this is spreading some where I'm getting it thicker. I'm trying to keep it thin enough, but it's not spreading as much as my homemade mix did, so I think it'll be okay in the long run. I hope. Again, I'm bringing these center parts in a little bit just to leave that divide. because I do want room for that extra layer. It's a little wonky a line, but it'll be all right. I've had too much caffeine today. I don't have much of a steady hand. Okay, so that is it for that. That will dry and be the like leaded part of the stained glass. And I think it'll be all right as is. So I'm gonna put that out of the way. I'm gonna put my template out of the way. I'm just gonna grab a sheet that's already got some paint on it. Shake up my paint a little bit. And this will probably take a couple of coats just because the color of the frame to begin with. I normally, when I'm using Dollar Tree frames, I'll prime them all with white spray paint first, but it's a little cold out for that right now, so. Not gonna worry about the back side of the frame at all. Just the top side and the do make sure you get the little like lip in here because that will be visible. So I'm going to let the black lines dry and get a couple more coats on this, and I will be back to show you the color portion of the glass. Okay, I am back to hopefully finish this project, my stained glass, faux stained glass turtle project. I do have, like I said, my chart laid out just to give me some color reference. My frame is done, so I'm going to prop that up there just so I can see it. I have a wide assortment of brushes. I don't know how many I'm going to need. I have a cup of rinse water. I have a couple of paper towels. I have my project itself. And I have an assortment of alcohol inks, pretty much every blue I own in a bunch of different brands, some homemade, and I have a yellow, a purple, a lilac, and a color called pistachio. And I have some clear Elmer's glue, which I guess I should see if it's opened. It is. Okay, so funny story, this should have been done weeks and weeks and weeks ago. But me, I get to the store to look for the clear glue. They only have gallon sizes. Well, I see this container. So I'm like, oh, great, that's a little pot. I'll just be able to dip in and get a little bit. what's missing here? The L. It says Elmer's goo. This is like pre-made slime. So I was all ready to start the next phase, and I was all excited, and I opened this up, and I am like, oh, it's defective. Yeah, no, it's slime. So this project got backburnered again. So I think I'm finally ready. I'm going to use a paper plate, hopefully a clean one. And for each color, I'm just going to start with a little bit of the glue. I could do this in medicine cups, and if I find I'm mixing them too much, I may switch to medicine cups, but I don't really want to. So I'm just going to put some circles around the plate to start. And this may be way more than I need. I really have no idea. So I'm going to move that to the side. Actually, I'm not for a minute. And I'm going to start with the center and work my way out and kind of move it around. So I'm going to start with my yellow. I'm going with lemon for this. I think there's several ways you can color the glue for these, but I'm going to use alcohol inks, and that may require me to spray the front with a UV sealer when I'm done, and probably the back of the glass as well. But I'm going to wait until I'm completely done with that. I could use resin for this if I wanted to, but I'm going to do the glue method first just to see how that works. So I'm just mixing up an assortment to start. I do have a second plate ready to go. But I'm not sure how many of these blues I'm actually going to use. I'll kind of decide as I go how many different colors I need. But I do know as soon as I'm done with a brush, I'm going to want to clean it. So some of these blues look exactly the same once they get in resin, so it's kind of difficult to gauge. Yep, that was the ring from one of them. I thought I had them all off, but apparently not. Okay, so that's a good start, I suppose. I have a little piece of glitter stuck on here because I have glitter everywhere. Yeah, sure. Maybe I can get it with this brush before I use the brush. There. Okay. So I'm going to start with the yellow. I'm going to do the center section of the thing yellow. So like I said, I knew I was mixing up way too much yellow. And hopefully the color will be saturated enough. But I'm going to just pick some up and fill in the hole. So this should actually go fairly quick, this process. But that's it for the yellow, so you can see how much of that I'm gonna waste. And I think I'm gonna do a darker purple here and the lighter purple here. I think is what I want. How I mapped it in my head. So, and there's not as much detail in this particular part as I would have liked, but again, that puff paint I ended up using was kind of thicker than I would have liked. But hopefully this will come out cool. It's, again, just a fun little piece for myself. I'm not making this to sell or anything. It's just to add to my turtle collection in my workroom. So I'm going to have to be careful when I get here because that should be a different color. But it's going to be kind of interesting to see what color the inks become in the glue. How they behave. I think I need more color in there, but I don't think I want to use the same color. I think I'm going to come over and grab this light purple pastel from What's Resin. Just to see if that gets a little thicker, more saturated color. There, we'll give that a try. You don't want them opaque, you want them transparent, obviously, but you don't want it so pale that you can't see it at all. And I'm just using a cheap pack of brushes from Walmart and a bunch of brushes from Dollar Tree because I am notoriously bad about cleaning brushes and didn't really want to waste any good brushes. So if I ruin them, I'm not going to be terribly concerned about it, but I am soaking them immediately, and I do plan to go clean them as soon as I'm done. And I'm laying this in here a little bit thick. It'll kind of smooth itself out. And I'm not even sure I'm going to have enough to do this piece. So maybe mixing up some more. We'll see in a second here if I can stretch it enough. Might be all right. And I'll be kind of curious working with the inks if the ink is going to stay where it's put in here or if it's going to pull in like it tends to do on resin. So I am curious about how that's going to work. If you work with inks and resin, you'll understand what I mean by pulling in. So, I'm honestly not even sure which of these was the pistachio at this point. I think it was this one. this was one of the colors I was going to use for the, it's the color I'm going to use for this part. I don't want to call them the leaves because I'm now out to the turtle itself, but to me it was almost a leafy shape of the, off of the hibiscus. So I'm trying to get the turtle done first before I go on to the outside, because the outside will be more just a free-formed whatever colors. That's where I'm going to work in all of the blues in whatever order I choose. So I think I've got to do the head the same color. All right, so now I'm gonna do, I think it doesn't really matter at this point. I was gonna do one of my homemade colors, but I didn't actually make a spot for that, so I'm just gonna put another bit. I actually don't really care if the blues mix up in here, so I'm going to see if this is different than the color next to it. This may be very similar to that center color. We'll see. And the color might not saturate enough. So this is going to be, oh goodness. I think I'm going to wait on that. I'm going to do the outer outline first. I think it's going to be easier. And I'm going to use this darker blue for that. I think it's just going to be easier for me to follow it if I do the outside edge first. So hopefully this brush is small enough. Because once I have the outside part done, the rest of it is the center. Yeah, that was definitely the smarter way to go here. I don't know, when I planned to do this project, it should have been so super simple, and it just, I felt like everything fought me. From the wrong glue, from not being able to get the right consistency for the leaded part, to not being able to decide what I wanted to actually use for the center medium. I actually bought a tie-dye kit because I think that the dyes from the tie-dye would work, but then that just seemed like it would have been a huge mess. And then I thought about resin, an ink because the resin would have the UV protection built in, but then it's longer cure times and a more expensive fail if it fails. So I may do another one with the dragonfly because that's my other love. And I think for that one, I will go ahead and use the epoxy for. And I think I'll do this. I kind of left wavy lines, but that I think I will do like mission style Tiffany lamp straight clean lines for. As straight a line as I can do at any rate. I think that would look really pretty. But, so that'll be the next one of these I do. I'm kind of in that, like I need to get some retail stock ready for spring, but this is the time of year I typically have more time to do fun projects or things for myself, because I don't get a lot of time to do things for myself. I actually kind of want to strip a couple of my cups and remake them. As much as I love my cups, I just don't want more. So I'm thinking about stripping 2 of the ones I have and remaking my cups rather than adding to the collection. So I'm just coming in and doing the outside line of the turtle, or the inside, the middle line. Yep. I'm gonna do everything that is not filled yet. So even this space here and this space here, I'm gonna include in this section. So, almost done with this part already. And this is where I'm going to get into just a bunch of blues and filling in the squares. So I'm actually going to, when I'm done with this part, switch away for a second and then put it in high speed, because you don't need to see me fill in every single box. That's going to be repetitive and the same. And I'm probably not even going to bother switching brushes at that point. I'll just blend and mix and blend and mix and blend and mix as I go, rather than using a whole bunch of brushes for that process. So when I'm done with that, I will let it dry, and then I will come back in when it's dry and we will try and look at it through some light. I don't anticipate this taking that long to dry. I do have the extra heat running in this room right now, so it shouldn't take too awful long to dry out. But well, that's where we're at so far. Hopefully you can get an idea of how it looks. Alright, I'm going to come back in fast mode and fill in all of these boxes. Okay, it is all done and dry, and it looks pretty good. Hopefully you can see enough of that reflecting through. I'm pretty happy with it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get it in its frame, and I will have to get a hanger on this frame because the hanger was attached to the backer. And I will probably come back in and glue this in a little bit so it doesn't slip out. Just because obviously it's shallow now compared to what it was before. But that is it framed. That is how it'll look on a wall. And I'm going to figure out where I'm going to hang it now. And that is it. If you liked this, please give me a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber or you're new to my channel, please go ahead and click that subscription button. If you want to be notified when I put new videos up, turn on those notifications. And we'll see you in the next video.